Hello, everybody. Welcome back. And we had a chance to talk to Logan football coach Carson Munn, kind of kicking off our, start of high school football season. Games beginning next week. Today we've got another coach coming in, Christopher Howell of Skyview. I say Christopher Howell, Chris Howell. I don't know exactly which one you prefer. Like, which one do you prefer?
You know what? Either one is just fine.
All right, well, I'll go with Coach Howell. We'll just keep that simple.
Yeah.
But
that's perfect.
Obviously, you guys coming off of a region title, season last year. Kind of an interesting season. I guess start off with last year because you started off the year 1-4, then you went 4-1 in region play. So you completely flipped the season around. Then you win one playoff game, lose in the quarterfinals. So kind of up and down in a lot of different ways. It's just, what was last season like for you, just with all that up and down?
Well, I will say this. First of all, last year was one of my favorite teams I'd ever coached. They were awesome kids. They were a really good team. They got along really well. They practiced and played really hard. Like, they were a really fun group of kids to be around. And so I had a ton of fun coaching those guys. Part of the deal with our record last year was the toughness of our schedule. We opened with Salem Hills and won that game, and then played Wasatch, and Wasatch was just coming off getting beat by Park City, and they were an angry football team when we played them, and they put it on us pretty good. And then the next week we turn around and play. I can't even remember the order. I'm pretty sure we played Rigby, and Rigby is like the 3-time defending state champs at the 5A level in Idaho and one of the best coach programs around. And then we turned around and played Mountain Ridge, and when we played Mountain Ridge, a 6A team, we were without both quarterbacks, and that's part of the game. And, we came up with a plan, and I think we ended up losing like 13-3 or 10-3, something like that. We're in that game and played just outstanding on defense. And so part of that 1-4 start was our opponents. Like, we played some really good teams. And then, Logan put it on us pretty good. And that was, in my opinion, losing that Logan game was kind of a turning point in our season. Our kids responded really well, and we came out and played great the next week against Ridgeline, and then kind of got things rolling. And then, that final game that we lost in the quarters was to Desert Hills, and we made some mistakes, but Desert Hills is a really good football team. They went on to win the 4A state championship. And so, if you look at the losses we had, they were against really good football teams.
Stace, mentioned last year's, non-region schedule, pretty tough. What do you think of, this year's region schedule? I think you're playing a 6A, 4A, a 6A, 5A, 4A, and 3A team, if I was looking right. So it seems like you're going all over the place with this schedule.
Yeah, so, that's exactly what we tried to accomplish. We wanted to play a variety of teams, but have a really good challenge. And so Salem Hills was part of a 2-year agreement, and they're a 4A team, a new 4A team dropping down, and it's a team we could see again in the playoffs. So that's a good matchup for us. And then, when we play Morgan's either played for or won the state championship, 3 or 4 times in a row over the last little bit, and probably have one of the best, if not the best, 3A programs in the state, and they're really, really tough kids, and that'll be a huge challenge for us. And then, Wasatch, Coach Coburn is, he's been a head college coach and does an outstanding job, and so it creates a big issue for us as far as our preparation and those types of things go. And then, Fremont being a 6A team and a team that I wouldn't necessarily say we're familiar with, but they're relatively close to us. So, we know who they are. We play them in basketball, and so that'll be a great challenge. So we love our schedule this year and really excited about it.
Fremont's team I was familiar with. I went to Davis. We played Fremont every year. They were pretty good back then. I don't know how they've done the last few years, but you mentioned some teams. Oh, go ahead.
They're okay. They're still a really good football team, and will give us everything we can handle. That's for sure.
And so I know you touched on a moment. There's teams coming into 4A, and I guess the hot topic in college football, we're all freaking out about conference realignment, but on a smaller scale, 4A here in Utah is seeing a big change. You're about doubling the number of teams that are going to be, competing in this classification. It's not going to maybe affect the region schedule, but playoffs, you're going from, I think, 13 to 25 or so, give or take. I can't remember the exact number. So just how do you kind of see that and how much that'll change, the postseason for you guys?
Yeah, we love it. I was not an advocate for what they did before with the 13 teams and split north and south. I mean, it just created a travel nightmare, and there were so few teams, and in a lot of cases, teams were crossing over against other teams in their region in the first and even second weeks of the playoffs, and I didn't think that was good. And so I'm super excited to have more teams come in. I think it's going to make it more competitive. It added another week to the playoff schedule, which I really like. And so I think it's only going to be beneficial. There's some really good teams coming in. With Stansbury is, we're familiar with them. We've played them. Their head coach is from Cache Valley, and so they're really good. And Park City, obviously, is really good. And then I think, there's some of those Utah County schools, Provo and Salem Hills, and some of those others that have been playing at a higher level that are going to come down and expect to compete for a championship. And so I think the playoffs are going to be really, really exciting.
So let's talk a little bit about your team this year. Obviously, we talked about last year and the successes you guys had. Correct me where I'm wrong, but I think you guys are returning starting quarterback, running back, wide receiver. I think guys who are all like first team All Valley. I think it's Carson Thatcher, Brevin Egbert, and Brighton Williams. Is that correct?
Yeah, they're all back. We returned 8 kids on offense. So we only lost 1 offensive lineman. So we have 4 offensive linemen coming back, plus our quarterback, tailback, our leading receiver, our tight end. All those kids are back. And then the other kids that are going to step in and play in a lot of those roles are kids that played last year, whether it was on the other side of the ball offensively or played meaningful minutes. And so we have a lot of kids with a lot of experience. And then defensively, we returned 6 kids. And so we feel like, we've been able to kind of pick up right where we left off from a year ago schematically and add a few wrinkles here and there and really refine and pay attention to the details of what we're doing. And so we're really excited about this team.
So I know a lot of times, people will return a ton of players. Maybe last year was a rebuilding year and they bring a lot of experience back. And it doesn't seem like that's what you guys are doing because, you won the region title last year. And as you said, you're bringing back, a ton of talent, star players at certain positions, most of the offense besides that. It's like, how much more can you expect? Like, how much improvement can you guys make, in bringing all these guys back and, take a step up this season?
Well, I think we can show a ton of improvement, especially from a consistency standpoint. If we talk about our quarterback specifically for a minute, he had a really good year last year, but he is a kid. Carson Thatcher is a kid that works so hard at becoming a really good quarterback. He spends a ton of time going to different camps and those types of things, and his understanding of our offense is so much better than it was a year ago, just what we're trying to accomplish. Over the last 2 weeks, I've watched him coach our younger quarterbacks in team situations where they're kind of running our check with me scheme, and he's helping those guys get us into the right play, and he's making really, really sound decisions in practice. And so, just talking about him specifically, and then just kind of how that would carry over to the rest of our team. 1 more year in the system, being a year more mature, bigger, stronger, faster, all those types of things. I think you'll see us make a lot of improvement on both sides of the ball. But really, I like the direction that our offense is trending for sure.
I don't know, Brevin Egbert, he was the Cache Valley Media Group Region 11 Player of the Year last year. You talk about Carson Thatcher making improvements. You think Egbert's making improvements as well and, improving on a 900-yard season that he had last year? Yeah,
so Brevin is one of those kids that is just an outstanding individual. He was elected by voted by his teammates as one of our team captains this year. He's one of the best leaders I've ever been around. Such a kind kid, treats everybody so well, but just a tremendous work ethic and very goal-oriented. He actually went to the Nationals for track and field this summer at the University of Oregon for the decathlon, and I think he took 12th out of 45 or 46 kids, and just has a tremendous work ethic. Has worked his tail off in the weight room. Very strong and so smart. I think he got a 31 or 32 on the ACT, and so he could play just about every position on our field or on our team and know exactly what he's doing. And we're excited to have him back this year. Coach Reese and I were talking this morning at our practice about how explosive he looks, as he hits the hole. And he's, he was good a year ago, and he looks just kind of like a different kid this year. And so hopefully, fingers crossed, he stays healthy because he gives us a great opportunity to be successful.
So let's touch on the defense. Now you've talked about the defense and some of the returners there. Obviously, you are returning some guys, but when I was looking at it, it seemed like you're losing, I think, 5 out of your top 6 guys in terms of total tackles. I know that's not always the key metric there, but losing some production, like which players are you expecting to step up to, fill the roles of those guys, getting the tackles and tackles for loss and sacks and whatnot?
We lost both outside backers last year, and we lost our entire secondary minus one corner. We have one corner coming back, and so those are big shoes to fill. We've moved some kids around position-wise, and so we have kids playing different positions than they did a year ago, but were productive a year ago. Like, for example, one of the kids that we moved last year, a kid by the name of Jace Lillywhite, who was a sophomore, had a huge strip sack against Green Canyon to set up our field goal to win that game. He was playing defensive end last year, and one of the fastest kids in our program, and he just had a tremendous offseason, got a lot stronger. But he was one of those kids that was never going to be able to put on enough weight to be a real effective defensive end. And so we moved him to outside backer, and he's scary good. And so we're looking for him to step up and do really good things. On the other side, we lost Jackson Bradley last year, had an outstanding year at our field side outside backer, and Chance Wilson and Peyton Helstern are doing a really good job. Peyton's a senior and Chance is a junior, and we like a lot about what each of them are doing. In our secondary, in our 2 safety spots, we ask those guys to carry a lot of the load as far as defensive checks and alignments and those types of things, and so we have we're 2 deep there at every spot, and it's been a dogfight through fall camp, and we still haven't solidified exactly who those starters are going to be. It's been really, really competitive, and some real athletic kids there. So Brevin Egbert and Easton Ballard and Cash Howell are all competing for our strong safety spot. Court Rigby and Jace Favero are competing for our free safety spot. And then on our one corner, Ramsey Vickers, Liam Guthrie, and Max Castillo are all competing for that spot. And, it's that competitive drive, that competitive spirit has really raised the level of our practices, and I feel like kids have really locked in because they know if they're not locked in, then somebody's gonna beat them out. And so it's created a really fun atmosphere, and we're excited to finally play somebody else next week and find out who can make plays in a varsity football type stage.
Yeah, it's always nice to finally be able to make that transition. You're not hitting the same color jersey. You get to actually hit a different color jersey for once.
The interesting thing about that is their colors are exactly the same as ours.
Oh, really?
It's going to look pretty similar, which is ironic.
So you have to wait a couple of weeks to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
So I wanted to ask, couple more questions. Kind of just a bit of a random question, because in Region 11, I think 4 out of the 6 teams have a coach that is in their first or second year. Bear River and I think Mountain Crest are going to their second year, and then Logan and Green Canyon have first-year coaches. Is it kind of interesting from your perspective? Because I think, Coach, you're going to, I think, your 5th season at Skyview?
Yeah. It's my 5th season as a head coach and my 14th season as a coach at Skyview. And so I've been around for a long time. I've seen different coaches come and go at different programs and the kind of the ebb and flow of the league. But the one thing that I would say about our league, our region, is that it's always been highly competitive, fantastic coaches who do a great job preparing kids, and kids that are really tough. If you look at any of the programs in our valley, in our region, they're just tough kids, really good kids too, from good homes, and so I love the football in our region, and I wouldn't want to be anyplace else. The interesting thing is I've been dealing or talking with a college coach who has been recruiting our valley, who actually coached. He was the head coach at Desert Hills a year ago, but has now moved on to the college level, and he has aggressively targeted kids from our region, from our valley, because of their toughness. And I think, that's a great testament to the type of football that we have in our valley and the type of kids and coaches that come out of our valley. And so I love being associated with it and super excited about this year's region.
Speaking of kids coming out of the valley and going to college, Ike Larson, he had a chance to play at Logan, and then obviously starring at Skyview as well. I guess, thoughts on his, ascension last year with the Utah State Aggies.
Yeah, I'm obviously really proud of Ike. So Coach Anderson, speaking of, my mind just went blank, but Coach Anderson, the old Coach Anderson, actually that's in charge of the Blue A club now, actually brought some Utah State players out to talk to our team a week ago, and Isaac was one of them. We reminisced a little bit with our team about some of the big-time plays that he made while he was at Skyview, and he just kind of carried that on to Utah State. He is an explosive athlete and has unbelievable instincts, and I think, that type of stuff showed up last year, and hopefully he can continue to progress and get better and really make us proud. He's a Valley kid, and I love to see Valley kids be successful, and he's doing a great job with that right now.
It is good to see him successful, and we'll wish for you guys success. Although I do play-by-play for Logan, so maybe not as much success against Logan. I don't know. Maybe I'm supposed to be neutral.
Well, we'll see if we can't play a little bit better against Logan this year. They did a great job against us last year.
Yeah, you got to hand one back for that being the only region loss. But thank you so much for coming on, Coach. Glad we could have a chance to talk to you, and good luck next week.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the opportunity.
All right.